Welcome in, my friends. It is time yet again. It's Wednesday, so you know it's time for a new episode of the Cannabis Conversations podcast, season 5. My goodness, we're already unbelievable. Look, if you haven't watched last week's show with Sabo Shen, do me a favor, just pause what we're doing here. It'll be great. You'll get back to it. Go back, watch that episode. Mindfulness, youth and enthusiasm from someone I had no idea was 10 years older than me. And it blows my mind. So if you haven't seen it or heard from that man, you must go back and do it. Today is an exciting crossover episode for me. Not literally, it's not going to be on my CannaBiz podcast and vice versa, but for my life, for my place, for what I do, this is today. And I can't wait to do it. Before we do, we must always thank our friends, our sponsors. We love them. Hephaestus, House of Automation. If you want to produce 2,000 pre-rolls in an hour, guess what? There's nowhere to start but Hephaestus, House of Automation. And we're getting hearts in the background here, people. I have a feeling yet again, Hephaestus has made its mark on the industry, and the guest will have something to say. We will hear from Angela in a moment. The Aura RX is the system. Hephaestus, HEFESTUS-tech.com is where you go to learn more. Go there, find out how you can do it, because if you're in the business of pre-rolls, 2,000 an hour sounds like a lot. All right, crossover time. If you don't know her, by the time we're done today, you will, but shame on you. You should already know her. Angela Pih, I call her the brand building marketing extraordinaire. How are you today?
Amazing. So excited to be here, Sean.
Please, I'm the blessed one here. This has been such a work for me, and I'm so excited to have you on. So we start the show easy. We throw up the softball for you. Tell us, Angela, what is the cannabis origin story for you? How did you get involved?
So from a personal standpoint, it started in high school. And from a professional standpoint, I'm really lucky that I started as the chief marketing officer at Papa Barkley. So I grew up with traditional Chinese medicine my entire life. Embarking on a cannabis career with Papa Barkley just felt so well aligned to my personal approach to plant medicine. And as you know, the founders of Papa Barkley are truly cannabis-centric, plant-oriented plant health in terms of bringing the cleanest, most efficacious products to market. And, Papa Barkley brand, its products speak for itself, solventless from the start.
I love the brand. I've heard a lot about it. I haven't been able to personally be involved in it. I live in what I like to call the prohibition state. So we're not as fortunate, and I haven't gotten out as much as I would like to do more of it. I want to take me back one step. You said personal was in high school. Angela, you mentioned university. So I feel like maybe you grew up in Canada, but I don't want to assume things because everyone from there says university. But where was your high school experience at?
Well, this was in Asia. So I grew up between Canada and Asia.
Okay.
So specifically Hong Kong.
Okay.
I have no idea how any of my friends would have gotten their hands on weed in Hong Kong while I was in high school. I did not ask.
But this is where you experienced cannabis in high school in Asia. I mean, when we had Tomer on, who's the chief officer over there as far as running business development at Hephaestus, and he was talking about it in Israel. And I'm like, and my mind is like already blown to hear that. But to hear this, I mean, come on, that's even crazier. Now, I'm not great with Chinese geography, but is it my understanding, and I could be wrong, is Hong Kong more of where you would find that as opposed to other parts of China if there was a chance to find it, or no? I'm wrong in hearing it. Okay. Good.
Absolutely. Now, if we're talking about Thailand, Vietnam, Cambodia, you might be able to find more of that, but in Hong Kong, incredibly rare. Incredibly rare. You can find other forms of substances,
sure. Sure, sure,
heavy
sure.
traffic substances.
Sure, substances, good word. But cannabis, no. So you come across it in high school and it's this super rare thing. You don't ask questions, but with what I assume is an upbringing that obviously speaks against that or doesn't obviously encourage that. What was that like for you to jump into in high school, somewhere you knew it shouldn't be?
I didn't really have a very traditional upbringing, although I have very traditional, Chinese values when it comes
Okay.
to filial piety and the way we respect our elders. But in terms of being a non-traditional family, um, I was hugged a lot as a kid, and I was told I was really loved, and I didn't have to come back with A pluses all the time. So that's my parents were very emotive, and and when it came to plant medicine, traditional Chinese medicine, where you're boiling bark, leaves, berries, all of those things, that's just, part of your arsenal of wellness. You have, pharmaceuticals, and then you have your traditional Chinese medicine. And one of the very things that I'm telling you, Sean, today that people don't even know. I mean, my family have had their own experiences with providing access to substances that I can't really talk about.
Okay. Yeah.
I have a great aunt who used to make medicinal tincture out of opium leaves.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right?
And again, when you say substance, right, like first thing comes to my mind, I mean, that's substance.
Yeah.
And I think about when I found it as a kid, as part of the cannabis journey that I had, and I came across opium, or so we believed, right? There's some of that there was some nasty stuff, but
if you use it for a medicinal purpose, it's really effective. So when I was little and I had a tummy ache or something, they would, my grandfather would put a few drops of this tincture into a small glass of water. Gone.
Tincture,
Yeah, so
just like that.
Just like that. So when we think about plant medicine, there's like a judgment of it being a substance, or you think about extracting the healing properties and adapting it for wellness purposes. Phytotherapies are really powerful. And I think it's the value judgment and the way we put the framework around plants that make it, bad.
And again, that's what I find interesting, right? Is that, like, you talk about growing up in a sort of non-traditional, sort of, what we would assume is stereotypical, for a better word. And you talk about being loved, and you talk about being open. You talk about having family ties to this. It almost feels like it's our, my wife talks to me a lot about soul contract, right? So the soul contract is like, Angela was put here in this position so that she could go on further in her life with this knowledge and understanding. As you apply your work today, how much of that is rooted in the high school Angela growing up, finding cannabis? How much is that rooted in today's work for you?
It's fundamental. When I had the opportunity to work on Papa Barkley, my parents loved the idea. They said, go for it. Sounds exciting. It's a new industry that's just opening up. There was no stigma, no judgment, no, that's crazy. You're a single mom, and you're going into a Schedule I industry. I had, 100% support from my family to go into cannabis. So again, very unconventional, because if you speak to other Asians within our industry, some of them don't even tell their family what they do because of the judgment and stigma. I had none of it.
Wow. And that just makes it so much easier to, exist. I think when you can have support without judgment, I think it's easier said than done. I remember my family, my folks, finding my cannabis because my parents' dog dug it up and found it in my house the way I had it buried under some rugs and shit. And I remember how furious they were. And then I remember coming to them in 2007 being like, hey, just so you know, on the side, I'm doing this and that. My dad's like, cool. He's like, that's super growing and a new thing. And I'm like, yes, it is, and how those conversations develop. And I don't want to go too far into it because, again, not a parent, but I'm interested in parental perspective. Two things. One, do you still push and use Chinese herbs and medicine with your children as it was done with you? And two, do you believe that cannabis should be talked about with you if your kid already doesn't know what you do? Like, what's that conversation for you like?
So my daughter was, let me see, how old was she? 14?
Okay.
When I entered the cannabis industry, and she knew exactly what I was doing.
Okay.
I'm a marketer within the cannabis industry. Parents at her school knew what I was doing. I'm always of the belief that you might as well just be open and say things, because it saves you from trying to like cover things up when you forgot what you said, so very open-minded. My daughter knows exactly what I do, knew exactly what I did. And I think that's important. There's a truth in what you do, and that energy, not to get into Sabo's territory, but that energy carries you forth in terms of how you conduct yourself in any situation, especially professionally. I learned a long time ago that you have to be your whole self. You don't like zip yourself up to go to the office and then zip yourself out of it to go home. You might as well be who you are.
Yeah.
You can just feel so much better.
It's so true. I grew up with guys. I grew up in the Chicago car business, and before the car business, as a young kid, I was in the clothing business. So I used to work for the Men's Warehouse, an old California brand from many years ago. And during that journey, one of the guys I had worked for, he was basically like, "Look, hit the curb out front, leave your house shit there, pick up your work shit, go into work. When you leave work, do the opposite, get back in your car, pick up your personal life." And I was always like, yeah, that made a lot of sense. And then I get to like, I don't know, like my mid-20s, and I'm like, this is the dumbest thing I could have been doing for myself, for my businesses, for the people around me, and now that I run my own business and I run it with my wife, it's just one flowing line of life. There isn't some division of home and state. Maybe there should be, maybe there shouldn't be. We don't know, but we've been doing this 13 years. We've been together 20 plus. It works. It's not easy, but it's not divided in a way where I should be the Sean here and then the guy here. I mean, it's what always people say to me. It's weird, Angela. You meet him in person. For me, I go to an automotive conference and I have a podcast and automotive I've had forever. And people say, "Oh my gosh, you're the same way." And it's like, yeah, okay. Like, yeah, I don't know what to say to that, Angela.
I'm right. Yeah, you want to be yourself 100% of the time. Now, you don't have to say everything 100% of the time. You do have to be a bit more thoughtful. It's just so much easier and so much more at ease to just be yourself.
It really is. It's something that, again, Sabo was telling me I'm gonna get as I get older. He was very nice about that. He was like, look, early 40s, you still think all these things. As soon as you hit another 5 years, you'll realize that all those things aren't even right. And we were talking about consciousness and the change of all that. And I used to think it was, I don't know. My wife says I always call it woo. I used to think it was something different because I was so specific in my actions. A plus B had to equal C. This is what we do. The regiment, the structure. I mean, I would drive myself freaking crazy, Angela, with structure and like having things be the same way. I'd walk in, I'd stay at the same hotels. I'd put my luggage. I mean, it was sickening. I don't want to live that way, Angela. I don't want to do that forever. And it's a lot easier to just be me, as you say, 100% of the time. How quickly in your life did you realize that? Easy to talk about now. Has it always been that way for you?
Probably by the time I was 30, I figured that out.
Okay. All right. I got no problem being a late bloomer. I'm fine at 40. That's fine. I'm fine to be behind the curve. It's no big deal. Because I watched someone like you and I watch what you've done with your positioning. Now you've been through, as you said, you've been through the private equity brands. You've been through the public brands. You've been in different positions as a marketer and boss of marketing, overseeing. What have you found to be the common thread, the common issue that exists in cannabis marketing as we sit here today? Because there's got to be something.
Oh boy, we only have 25 minutes, right?
Well, now you're down to 11, but no, it doesn't matter. We could spend the whole 11 if you'd like, but no, please tell me, what do you have?
So, what we talked about earlier, just in terms of the trajectory from a single brand company to a multi-brand portfolio company to, cultivation, retail, ancillary, B2B, US, global, regional, whatever. Across all of those, I think where there are challenges and shortcomings are that many marketers don't understand data or business, how to be a strong operator. If you cannot be a strong operator that understands numbers and margin and profitability, you're sunk, because there's just not a lot of margin in cannabis. And also, if you're not keeping your eye on the data, how are you going to make day-to-day decisions and just be adaptable, right? There are a lot of things like people who phone it in. So, I'm very lucky that I also have experience on the retail side of the business. Retail is unforgiving in cannabis.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not at the store, in the store, talking to the store team, seeing what's going on, what are people coming in asking for, and be able to kind of like adjust your business model and your decisions, you can't phone it in. So phoning it in, not being a strong operator, not understanding the supply chain, not understanding profitability, margin, P&Ls, huge disconnects, and I have been very fortunate that I've created beautiful brands, built beautiful brands, launched beautiful brands. I can make something look exceptional. And that's just at the surface of what you need to do, in terms of design. But then it's understanding who you're designing for. What is the viability? How are you going to sustain a profitable piece of business? Are you engaging with buyers and understanding what their challenges are? Do you understand all the intricacies of bringing a product to market in terms of logistics, supply chain, inventory, right?
Mm-hmm. 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 And as I said at the beginning of the show, this is crossover for me because this is what half of what you just said is what I deal with every single day in automotive. A 200-year-old brand, a whatever industry, one of the most established we have in this country, and it is still suffering from the exact same problems. Now, I give my guys a lot of credit. Margins and P&Ls and balance sheets, that's their business. You can't have $1 million worth of inventory and be not good at that. So my boys there, that they get data they've been getting, and data comes now. It's AI and like that. Blah, blah. I still want people looking at my data, and maybe it's self-serving because I run a data-first people company.
Sure. You need to understand your cost of acquisition, your cost of retention, your cost of reacquiring a customer.
Yes.
Understanding automotive, there is one car dealer in Los Angeles that I've purchased 4 cars from.
Mm-hmm.
Now, to be a 3-time repeat customer for one dealership, that's a big deal.
You are the gold standard of my CRM, of my DMS system. When I go to look for who should I take out to the gala this month, you know what I'm saying? These are the customers that we go look for when you think about that. But let me ask you, Angela, why are you that customer?
I get a level, you get the customer service, and
Sure.
also they're able to accommodate my level of customization. I want a certain model. I want a certain level of customization. I want the whole package. I'm probably the sort of like the idiot customer that buys the super premium total package. Like when I wheel the car back in, I don't want you to talk about the tire, the rim, the trim, whatever. It's like, I'm going to give it back to you. And between when I roll it off the lot and when I drive it back, I don't want to pay for a thing.
This is Angela. Angela, everyone, she is a leasing customer who every 3 years gets herself a brand new whip and loves it to death. Now, this is what automotive needs, people. All right. These are all the customers we need every single day because leasing is great for you. Yeah. As a customer, every 3 years, Angela gets something new. It's great for the industry because it keeps turnover of inventory moving, right? New ones in, old ones out. And it's great for consumers who now can afford Angela's car because she's depreciated it for 3 years. It's now on the lot at a lower reduced price than it was brand new.
Still in mint condition.
Of course, you're just like me. I joke that I lease everything but my house and my wife. And I think my wife would like to lease me, frankly. So that's probably a different discussion, but you're the beautiful customer. And it is because of what you just said. It's customization. And now, Angela, are you a tough negotiator, or because everyone meets your needs, price is like not as high on the list for you as what you want is on the list?
I would say I'm a relatively shrewd customer. So when I bought my daughter her car, the borrowing rate was so low that the financing was almost like free.
That's right.
I think I don't know, it was ridiculous for, I put X percent down, and there was X payments. And then there wasn't like a huge difference between the purchasing versus the leasing for my daughter's car. That I think I probably made money on that deal because the financing was like under $1,000 over time, if you think about it.
This is what we're talking about, people. This is a microcosm of data and understanding your surroundings. We're applying it to retail automotive. This whole thing translates, if we were to go back and put it through a cannabis translator, to everything you're dealing with in retail and your margins and your lines and your repeat customers. I talk about it all the time. I am one of the, because I'm not a consumer of cars, Angela. When I need a new car, I text 2 people. I get paperwork sent to me. I show up, the car's done, I leave. I don't I don't buy cars like people do. But I buy cannabis like everyone does. And I've been in hundreds of dispensaries, Angela. Hundreds.
There's probably maybe 5 at the most 6 dispensaries that you go to on a regular basis, right?
Not for me, because I live in a prohibition state. So whenever I travel, that's how I go. That's how I see. And I live too much in the middle of prohibition that it's not like an over the border thing for me. I got to commit 3 hours to go somewhere to get anywhere. I like that. But my thing is, Angela, and you got to help me with this. 100 dispensaries, let's call it. Emails never get asked for. My email address never gets asked for, ever. Which, as an automotive kid, we used to have in the early 2000s, emails were gold to automotive, because we realized how quickly we could send messaging, how quickly we could put you in our database. This was before FCC opt-out shit. We could hammer you, and you'd have to just come to the dealership and tell us to stop. So we realized early on it was money. The ones that do ask, Angela, have never, ever sent me an email. Now, you can tell me it's my address. You can tell me it's because my license isn't there locally and they may as well know that I'm not a return. But what is the freaking deal with the email out list here at dispensaries, Angela? Please tell me.
You should talk to Alpine IQ. I mean, they're the experts, right? And I've used them consistently for a number of years. But even before you talk about dispensary email lists, which you should be fired if you're not asking for a customer's email on their first visit, because that first party data capture is critical. How are you going to find out whether they had a good experience or bad experience? So from a customer standpoint, right? Even before you're thinking about sending incentives and promotional information, right? So, you understand sales. You don't want your first contact to be 25% off. You want your first contact to be, did you enjoy the experience? Was there something we can do better? Did you find what you were looking for?
Yeah. Angela, when you buy your car, what's the first email you get? It's probably either from the dealer or from the OEM asking you about your experience and to please rate it the following, correct?
That's right. Because then that's how you know you're doing well, or you have areas that you need for improvement.
Yes.
Now, never mind that, the dealer rep on the show floor says to you before you walk out the door, you're going to get an email. Please give me 10 points or all stars for everything.
Yes. Now, Angela, to be fair, that's
from a bud tender at a dispensary who's going to have a little placard on their counter that says, please give us a great 5-star Google rating, because that's gonna give you a better standing and more search authority on Google Business Profile. So any dispensary needs to have that across every single one of their POS.
And you have to also be able to get the messaging across, right? And make sure that people actually do it. And then when people provide you feedback or they put reviews on your Google My Business page, do yourself a favor and reply. and reply
100%.
in kind. And if it's not a positive comment, do not get into a pissing match on Google My Business. You're doing yourself no good. You will not win in the court of public opinion. It is
No.
over for you.
And
Don't
then
do
it's going to kill your ratings as well. You know, you're going to go from a 5-star to a 3-star because a couple of customers had a really bad time and gave you a 1-star review. And then you're going to have to chase after that customer and saying, how can we do better? How can we do a make good? Come back, you know, and that's going to be hard. You're going to get that person to get in their car and come back to your store. You know, where you're really asking them to give you a second chance.
It's interesting how you say a second chance, because that's what it comes down to for me. Again, I'm a kid of retail. I've been in retail my whole life. Whether I was selling suits or selling cars, I live the retail environment, the 30-day cyclical piece of work. That is, what did you do on the 1st? How did you close the 30th? Do it all over again. I've spent 20 years of my life doing that. It is not easy work. With the work that people put in at retail at bud tender level or whatever, for there to be nothing of a open communication backwards to consumers, to be able to provide feedback to those people, does everyone in the building a disservice. Like, I don't understand from a retail perspective how the VOC isn't the most important thing you have running to improve your entire organization front to back. But I think it takes us back to your point, which is there's a chance you just might not understand how to run a business, right? There's a chance you might be really good at growing the best weed. I say this all the time to my massage therapist. She's got this little company going on. It's not run well. It gives her a headache. She always says to me, I'm a massage therapist. I'm not a business person. Well, then what are you doing trying to have a business? But it's because it's like people's natural progression. You've got to see that in cannabis, where people are great at one thing, but to apply that maybe to another sector is what makes the idea of vertical integration difficult.
100%. So even if we're not talking about retail, let's look at brands, right? Mm-hmm. There's a brand that I provided a certain level of support in terms of brand creation, you know, packaging design, and looking at different markets and what the go-to-market strategy. One of the slides, you know, in terms of these are all the things you need to think about from a go-to-market standpoint, is they're saying, well, we want to do asset light so that we can take our brand from market to market. So my question marks were, okay, trademarking your brand name, your brand logo, your icons, so that you own your brand IP, right? Mm-hmm. And let's say you find an operator in a state who's going to be your partner, who's going to provide your flower or fill your vapes, or, you know, you need to find out, do you have to buy the hardware? Do you have to buy the packaging? Do you have to hold that inventory? Or is that their responsibility to do all of those things? Now, who's going to be your salesperson? Are you going to have an in-house salesperson, or are they going to provide a salesperson? Do they have the production, distribution, licenses so that they can go from soup to nuts? And how much of that do you pay for, and what's your cut of it, so to speak? So it's not like, oh, I just created a brand, I'm just going to go into market and I'm going to do asset light.
You know what it reminds me of, Angela? It reminds me of being in like a conference. So again, automotive, we have them in cannabis as well, but like being on a conference floor and hearing like the buzzwords, you know, and then 20 minutes later, you hear someone repeat something they just heard. That's the term that asset light feels to me when I hear people say it, is like, you heard it somewhere, you think it's a good idea, but just in 5 minutes of you laying out what it takes, I'm sitting here going, that meeting must have had a great pause to it, Angela, when these are your retorts. What is that in this case? What was the reply to this from a brand perspective?
Well, they're just at the starting line. So these are the considerations that I had suggested to them to think about and lock it down before they sign one check or spend anything. Do you own your brand if you're going to go asset light? Do you have to contribute to all the requirements, everything from packaging to inventory? What are you responsible for? Let's say you're a vape brand, right? You're going to have a brand look and feel. It's going to be gorgeous. You're going to have, certain flavors and strains. Are you going to buy the terpene? that's going to go into your blend and not just, give your formulation to your co-packer? Or do they buy it? I mean, it's just like, these are kind of like the nuances that are really important, because that's part of your brand consistency down to your product.
Yeah, and when I hear you say it, it feels a lot more than nuance. Okay, it feels like foundational core things that should have already been maybe thought through before the meeting with you. In a way, but see, let me make clear. This is what makes you who you are and outstanding in the space, because I get told this a lot in automotive. People say my brain works differently, that when I see something, it's different to me, that what my outcome will be. And I believe it the same in you, that when you see something or you hear something, you go, yeah, but, and you have all these other reasonings to say.
That's not even marketing.
No, it's not. It's just self-awareness, frankly, but yes.
Even though companies approach me to help them with marketing at a very high level.
Yeah.
A lot of times I'm helping them fix, upstream challenges that have somehow trickled down to a marketing problem when there were not the right decisions made along the way.
I've said this on your post before. Rarely is marketing your problem. Rarely is it your problem. The problem people have is in process. It's in sales. It's in acquisition. It's in all these things that have nothing to do with the marketing. Marketing is the easiest one to bag on. It's the easiest expense to see on the bottom line. I deal with the car dealers. I see it all the time. These guys spend, Angela, the average car dealer we deal with spends $25,000 a month on digital marketing. Okay. That's just to be in a market. That's not even to be competitive in a market. That's $300,000 a year. In marketing. Most cannabis brands don't even have a margin to support $30,000 a year of advertising because of these upstream decisions of these, I got 3 dispensaries, but I got 7 C-suite. I'm not trying to be rude here, but I'm just trying to talk to people about business and what it takes to grow one.
We're talking about your 280E, right?
And we're getting there, right? We're in a place now where that's what's supposed to be coming. That's the future that will help change the landscape. If your thinking is already that is the fix, I'm concerned with what you think that's going to fix. Does that make sense when I say that?
100%.
Okay.
And even if there is a fix, it's not going to affect 3/4 of 2026. It might affect your fourth quarter.
Maybe.
If we're lucky.
Yeah. If we don't just watch government agencies drag feet like they have for 20 years on the topic. And again, that we will get into that as a part of our hot hit segment, because I do want your opinion on that. Let me try and close the loop on the marketing discussion, because I'm freaking fascinated by it, having it with you. Within marketing, and you talk about data, what are the data points? What are the analytics tools that you're using, Angela, to sort of showcase the data that you see as a marketer? Like, what data points, maybe it's POS, sure, but what externally for website marketing or for social, like how is Angela getting her data to be able to digest and get in front of the people that need to see?
So let's start at the macro level, right? Okay. You're a company operating in X market within the US.
Yep.
So you're going to look at, am I keeping up with the pace of the market? If the market's growing 3%, 20%, whatever it is, am I growing 20% last year and keeping up with the market? And if I'm not, what are the challenges, right? So that's just at the macro level. And then you're going to also look at your digital data. You're going to look at your cost per acquisition. You're going to look at how much are you spending. You're going to look at your retention data, how many customers you're maintaining. Are you building and acquiring more customers on a consistent basis? Are you selling through at the velocity? And if you're a dispensary, you're going to look at, hey, an average dispensary in my state has, 1,200 unique SKUs within the dispensary, and I only carry 600 or something. Is that good or bad? What does that mean? So there's a lot of customer data, there's a lot of market data, and there's a lot of brand level data And then there are the basic block and tackle marketing data in terms of cost for retaining your customer, cost for acquiring customer, how much are you spending across different channels on digital marketing versus trade marketing.
Got it.
And right now, and please, marketers out there, don't hate me, I would say mid to lower funnel marketing spend is going to be more efficient than upper funnel. You know, we all want to do beautiful brand campaigns, but if you're going to survive, you're going to really look at mid to lower funnel advertising.
Ladies and gentlemen, the crossover episode strikes again, because this is what I tell people all the time. And in automotive, we have to worry about all three equally, because this is an established industry with people that you're up against, and competition is heavy. I mean, I've got a client in San Francisco. You drive 8 miles either direction, there's 2 more of the same stores that do what he does. That's competition at a level that is, yeah, I mean, I know there's a dispensary in every corner, but again, inventory holds, building size, employee structure. Yeah, automotive's bigger, but the challenges are the exact same. And I know people love high funnel, but there's more to it than that.
100%. So how lucky are we that we work in an industry where walk-in traffic to a store, they're probably 100% predisposed to buying something. And maybe you spent 5 digits on upper funnel advertising, and now they're 100% predisposed to buying your product, and they walk up with something else.
So now I've just wasted my money, Angela, is what I'm hearing from you, because they were already predisposed.
You're not controlling and influencing at the conversion level, no matter how predisposed that customer is from upper to mid funnel advertising efforts that you spent, and they come out with your competitor's product. That hurts. Like, I've seen that in real life, walking into a dispensary and seeing the bud tender convert the customer at the counter to a competitive product, even though it's a store that we've had lots of PADs, different events, and have promo units or creative promotional campaigns with them. So it's, yes, isn't it great that we work in an industry that somebody who walks into a dispensary will walk out with a bag of something? And how challenging is it that you spend a lot of money incentivizing or amplifying what your brand is at that upper to mid level in terms of the funnel, and then losing at the conversion level?
To not control it. It's the same way, right? Like in automotive, it costs us $250 to get someone through the door, right? So every time someone comes through the door, if you don't log that up, if you don't work that up, if you don't do everything we're supposed to do with that up, that's $250 every time that we've wasted. Now it's a different relationship, because you come to my dealership, yeah, you're going to probably buy my cars. If I have multiple stores, then it's a similar message. But the dispensary retail model gets weird, right, Angela, from a business to business perspective, because they house multiple things in one place. And I find that, I ask bud tenders basically the same thing. I talk about headaches. That's what I deal with. I've always dealt with. I talk about sleep, and I talk about just being able to go about my life. I don't want to be super here or there. And they bring out brands. They talk about brands. I don't know the incentive on the back end, right? As a consumer, I have no idea what's justifying you bringing it forward. Most times I say, hey, I'm probably, middle to top shelf kind of guy, kind of like your car discussion, right? I kind of do the same thing. I like what I like and I get what I get. But it's interesting, because you've worked in that environment. So you've worked for the business to business. You've worked for the vertically integrated. Where does that challenge show its face in a vertical integration operation to you, Angela? Where does that same issue lie?
So a vertically integrated company is going to have their own cultivation. They're going to have their own portfolio of brands. They're going to lock 30 to 40% share of shelf for their own products, right? So from there, they're going to be able to anchor, 55% margin on their own house brands. That might also be wholesale and available in other dispensaries, but that's their own portfolio of brands, right? And then the other 60 to 70% of shelf, that's going to be your third-party brands.
Wow.
You're
I
gonna
didn't realize the swing was that large of a vertical integration part. So really the vertical integration gets you that first 30. Is that what's fair to say about that then? Otherwise it's 100%.
It should be locking at least 30% of shelf that's yours. And then all the other hundreds of brands are going to be vying for that 60 to 70% share of shelf.
And then that comes into a process in the back end about how we acquire those brands, what deals we have, what ends up on our shelf. So when you talk about upstream issues, is that more where you begin to see that show?
Not everything is equal, right?
No.
There are destination brands that you must have because people are going to want, certain gummies that they want for sleep. Everybody's got their version of Blue Dream and their flower, right?
Yeah.
And then you're going to want a watermelon sugar high vape or something, right? So there are certain standard things you're going to have on your menu.
Yeah.
And again, one of the challenging and the fun things about cannabis is that we have no MSRP.
No, you don't.
No.
You have no public figuring of your pricing whatsoever. And people talk about it. Thank you. By the way, people say all the time, automotive isn't transparent. Sorry, go on Google and you can see every dollar for everything that I own in my inventory. You know what I paid for it. You know what the manufacturer incentivized me for. So if you're not prepared to buy a car and you don't know pricing, that shit's on you, consumer. Sorry, not sorry. Angela, I got nowhere I can go to find out the cost of a pre-roll. Like what are we talking about here?
You're going to know what your 5-pack pre-roll and your 1 gram pre-roll is going to be, although I love that pre-rolls are, the fastest moving category right now because it means convenience and velocity. And then there are a lot of things that brands and retailers can do to drive velocity, right? Versus your 2 gram vape that might take a little while for them to get through. But your pre-roll is, it's a single sitting.
And the sales velocity, it's like pre-rolls are the automotive leasing here, Angela. That's what we're going to bring it full circle here, is that it continues that retention. It keeps me hot. Look, I was just in the UP on a snowmobile trip and I came across these beautiful little dog walkers from these guys, little 5-pack, little glass jar. That's all I had all week. I was just burning through them. They were just perfect, single sit, little infused, beautiful. And again, I thought before I leave, I got to go back here and stock up because I got to go home. And I did. I returned within this, a 48-hour period. So yeah, I love that. I love that category as well. Angela, look, you've been awesome with your time. I just looked up and saw that I've taken up a lot of it. I know you're super generous with it and I love you for it. So what we're going to do is we're going to get into the hot hits part of our show. It's always fun. It's a little bit of a word association. Before we do, Angela, did you have something to say about Hephaestus on the intro? I didn't know. I saw the heart emoji behind.
I saw heart emoji because of pre-rolls and how it's a high velocity category that's just going double digits in every single state. So more pre-rolls, more purchases, more velocity.
And where can you get that done? Hephaestus, House of Automation Producers. This is where you go if you're looking for the sweet, clean Dutch crown finish. Doesn't matter if you want it infused, all good. They can handle it. 2,000 joints an hour. Think about it. That's a lot of joints, all right? Even at high velocity, it's going to take us a while to get through it. Head over to Hephaestus, HEFESTUS-tech.com to learn more. Hephaestus, House of Automation, we thank you. We could not do it without you. All right, Angela, time for the hot hits. Let's do it.
All right.
Rescheduling.
Oh boy. Descheduling.
Descheduling. Got it? Then a common answer. AI in marketing.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. Very good. Nice. Vanity metrics.
Redundancy.
Okay. Tell me more.
Vanity metrics might make you feel good, but you're going to probably lose your job.
Okay. So it's not just enough to give you the impressions of a campaign anymore, is it, Angela?
No.
Especially in the cannabis world. Like, again, I watch folks like Embark. You're a California gal. What an organization, run front to back, the marketing, the gigantic bags, the work they do in the community, the California State Fair. They do all these things. And I watch a lot of brands make excuses about my social media gets shut down or this or that. But somehow the brands find ways to overcome it. It is possible, right, Angela, to overcome it and just to be a solid ass brand?
100%. You got to think about your digital and your physical. That big giant bag has got them digital and physical, right? You have recall now, and you've just brought it up, and then your hundreds of thousands of viewers are going to be able to kind of go, oh, what was that about? And then they're going to find it.
Yeah, they are. And it is brand association. They do a great job. This is a little bit of a longer one, but what's the biggest mistake a startup makes when it comes to marketing?
So many things. If it's beautiful and if it's top shelf, people will buy it.
Wow. I got to tell you, that really resonates with me. I've got a bad habit. I tell my wife this. It's not that I like expensive things. It's that things I like are expensive. That becomes my problem. And it's always been my problem. And I don't ever try to be that person, but I end up there because it's just my taste and my like.
Yeah, I believe in fewer, better things. I know you don't have a lot, but the things that I have, I want them to be really high quality. And also, it's important to kind of keep in mind that as a population, we're kind of struggling right now in terms of disposable incomes. People are going to be able to afford what they can afford, and they're going to want the best value and quality for it. And so if it's, bigger formats, we've been seeing half ounces and full ounces gaining more momentum in terms of the flower proportion of revenue for most dispensaries. So, that they'll bring value that way. And then also, if you're bringing new products and new SKUs to market, let's try and make sure that it's something that they're familiar with, because people are not going to throw their money down for something that they're just going to try on a whim. So make it familiar so they kind of go, oh yeah, that sounds like something I would enjoy. I might give it a go.
Again, ladies and gentlemen, normally I would just end the show right there because what a way to go out. But the last hot hits question we ask everyone, Angela, and I may know the answer to this given today's conversation, but I'd like to find out. I'm going to write down my answer and then I'll have you answer. What's Angela's favorite way to consume right now?
Oh, ground flower that I roll myself.
Okay, you can't see it, but I put pre-rolls. Ding, 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 ding. Now, they're not pre-rolls, so I didn't really win all the way around because Angela rolls her own, and I love that. I am not that skilled. I end up with those gigantic cone sushi things you can't even close, Angela.
Too, when you're packing cones, but you have to be sensible and don't overpack, because that's not going to give you a good smoke.
She just summed up the whole problem of my life, being sensible. Angela, you've been great. We love having you on the show. We'll have to do it again. Thank you so much for all you do for the industry, and keep up the great work on LinkedIn. That's where I see you. That's where everyone should find you. But where else can they find you, Angela? Anywhere else that you are besides LinkedIn that I don't know about? Because it's all I'm on.
LinkedIn is the best way to find me. I'm very visible. I engage, and then there's a post every week. I don't inundate my LinkedIn. So
No,
there's a weekly post. It's something sensible. It's something insightful and useful.
Absolutely. You crush it. You're great at it. Thank you so much for being on the show. We really appreciate it. Hephaestus, House of Automation, thank you for sponsoring the show. Thank you for all that you do to make this season happen. We could not have done it without you. HEFESTUS-tech.com. Go check them out. They are the best in the pre-roll business. Thank you all so much for watching the show. Tune in next week. We're going to have some more fun with founders and folks who really understand the business. And remember, our goal here at the show is to remove the stigma of this plant and uplift it to its rightful place in our society. We hope you do the same. Thank you so much. Have yourselves a great rest of your week.
Thank you.